Hello lovely people, welcome to another episode of Honest Discussions with Jiddare. If you are a returning subscriber to my channel, I would like to say thank you for always coming back and listening to our ramblings. You guys are the real MVPs because without you, we wouldn't be here. And if you are a newbie, welcome to Honest Discussions with Jiddare. In case you are wondering what this channel is all about, I would strongly suggest you listen to the trailer that is pinned above the channel, and then of course I will intimate you that on this channel we talk about everything and nothing. Yes, we just observed the Easter festivities, the Ramadan fast and Salah. So I hope all my Muslim brothers and sisters had a wonderful Salah and Ramadan period, and I also wish that all my Christian brothers and sisters equally had a fantastic Easter festivities. So what are we going to be talking about today? Something that has been happening and happening and happening, and of course when it happens everyone gives an outcry, oh no, oh no, oh no, and then we go back to life as normal. I personally don't think that we're giving enough attention and we are talking enough about domestic violence. In the past few months, domestic violence have claimed the lives of many women who are breadwinners, women who are career women, women who are economically and socially empowered, have been claimed, have been destroyed by domestic violence. And the reason is simple: we're not talking about it enough. We're not trying to find solutions to domestic violence enough. Now, I know a lot of people will be thinking it doesn't concern them. Well, I'm here to tell you that domestic violence concerns each and every one of us. And somehow, each and every one of us have been caught in the cycle of violence. Now, do you know the cycle of violence? Do you know what the cycle of violence is? And do you know what it entails? This is a whole new, different topic on its own, the cycle of violence. But as I always say, that in these days and time, ignorance is not an excuse. You all have smartphones, you all have computers. Just Google the cycle of violence, read about it, and know and understand how we all fit in the cycle of violence, either consciously or unconsciously. I remember a comment section I was on Facebook that is talking about the legendary African method of parenting, of beating up children when they err or do wrong. And a friend of mine who is equally a YouTuber saying that she intends to talk about how people unconsciously continue to contribute and maintain the cycle of violence and ensures it continues to circulate over and over again unconsciously. Now, how do we unconsciously feed the cycle of violence? Simple. By, most importantly, I always say this: child abuse. A lot of people think that child abuse is only when a 2 or 3 year old child is sent to the Almajiri school, which turns the child into an Almajiri, or when a child is raped, or child labor. That is child abuse. Well, for your information, child abuse is much more broader than Almajiranchi, than sexual violence, raping a child, that is pedophilia, or child labor. Child abuse happens in so many homes in the guise of parenting or discipline. There is a very thin line between discipline and abuse, and many Africans have crossed that line unconsciously without them knowing. So the way that the African parenting method continues to feed the cycle of violence is simple. Now, when you raise a child with an abusive in an abusive way and with abusive tendencies, with abusive parenting style, it instills in the child the belief that the only way to solve a disagreement is through violence. Because mostly, yes, when a child errs or the child is being difficult, then that is when most parents beat a child. But the message that kind of parenting is sending to the child is that the only way to solve a disagreement, a discord, or any kind of conflict is through violence. Now, conflict can be just verbal, you and I don't agree, and then it will generate tension because we have very differing disagreements. That's conflict in a way. And if that turns violent by either myself turning on the other person or on the person turning on me in a violent way by inflicting harm, then that's abuse. Most times, parents lack communication skills. Most times, a lot of parents don't even know how to communicate to their children, make themselves understood by their children, or take the extra effort, make the extra effort to understand their child. And that is how abuse comes in, because of course we were all raised with the understanding that the slightest thing you do, you get beaten up. I see a lot of people writing on Facebook that I was beaten up and I turned out well. If we turned out well, Nigeria will not be in the mess it is today. If we all turned out well and we were beaten up by our parents, there would be no conflict, there would be less chaos and conflict. The abusive way of parenting is not the best way of parenting. That is what we must understand, because to a large extent, that is what sustains and maintains domestic abuse. Now, there are a lot of researches out there online that specifically states that a child that has lived in an abusive home has the tendency of turning out to be abusive themselves. And I have seen it over and over and over again. Most children that grow up in abusive homes where their mothers are being abused, or their fathers are being abused, or themselves are being abused, turn out abusive themselves. Now, that should tell you a lot without even having to go through research and scientific findings and scientific theories. The evidence is out there for all to see. Domestic violence is being sustained by child abuse. You cannot extricate child abuse from domestic violence. You cannot extricate domestic violence from child abuse, because the possibilities and the chances that a child that has witnessed violence and abuse in their homes will grow up to be abusive themselves, the evidence are there. So, if we want to tackle domestic violence, we were talking about domestic violence, yeah? And I brought up the issue of child abuse because that is where the seed is being sown. If we want to tackle domestic violence, it is not enough talking to the adult men to stop beating their wives, but their children as well. And even the mothers should not beat their children. That is when I will know that as a society we are serious about eradicating domestic violence. We are serious about eradicating gender abuse. Abuse is abuse, no matter whom the victim is. It's either is a woman or a child, is still abuse. Either it's a woman or a man, is still abuse. So you see, we are all caught up in this cycle of violence, either consciously or unconsciously. I am not going to take the time to want to break down all these levels of abuse, the stages and the types, because it will not go in one video. As I always say, ignorance is not an excuse. We are in the age of information technology where all the information and knowledge you need is right there, accessible to you at the click of your fingertips. Educate yourselves. Education is not just the knowledge you get at school. Your knowledge and your education actually begins after you leave school, not when you're in it. So, folks, domestic violence is worrisome. I detest it. I don't like it. I talk about it all the time. I'm a gender advocate. I'm a feminist. But I also know that we cannot eradicate domestic violence without talking about the causes, without talking about the roots and when and where the seeds are sown. Let us educate ourselves. Ignorance is no longer an excuse. Thank you very much for listening to Honest Discussions with Jiddare. And thank you very much for staying here with us. Now tell me, what do you think is the cause of domestic violence, and how do you think we can eradicate the scourge of domestic violence? Gender-based violence, violence against women and girls is still the same. It is abuse, it is violence. Now, what do you think causes this, and how do you think it can be eradicated? I will be so happy if you share your opinions, your thoughts with me at the comment section. Let's engage, let's interact. How can we solve this social menace that continues to consume us at so many different levels, leading to deaths, leading to incapacitation, creating so much bitterness, so much enmity, raising children in so much toxicity? How can we eradicate this? How can we solve this? I will be so excited, I will be so happy if you share your thoughts about this at the comment section below. Thank you very much once again, and until next week, what are we going to be talking about? How patriarchy affects men. I'm wishing you a beautiful and more prosperous week ahead. So much love and kisses for you from here. Bye for now.